If you shit your pants mid-set, do you finish the set or stuff? Yeah, you finish the set. Why would you not? I mean, you've already shit yourself, so the worst thing you could ever do is stop because you shit yourself. That would be, akin to peeing yourself half the way up on a squat and just stopping because you pissed yourself. Just embrace the nastiness and go with it. After the set, go change your shit. Don't be walking around the gym smelling like shit.
Get the fuck up. Simon says, get the fuck up. Throw your hands in the sky.
I'm going to try to do something a little bit different with this edition that we're filming. I'm going to go through all the questions. This is the first time that I'm really looking at them. And I'm going to answer the ones that I can answer kind of rapid fire, all in one group. That way I don't have to circle back later and tap a ball out on the computer. And some of the questions that are asked that I can't answer, I'm just going to come straight out and say that I can't answer it and to reframe it a different way next time around. So I'm going to start with the first batch or the first post that we made. Do you have any tips or advice for a lifter who has to train late at night and only has around 5 hours of sleep at best, mainly with warming up and the best recovery? That's a really hard question to answer because you're only talking about one means of recovery, which is sleep. There's a lot of other means of recovery that can fall in there, and I don't know how you're training. Some people do very well on 5 hours of sleep. Some people, that's their norm. Some people, their norm is 8 hours of sleep. So if your norm is 5 hours of sleep, there's really nothing that I can say that's really going to help that. It sounds like you feel like it's affecting your training, but you're not really saying how it's affecting your training, which makes this a very difficult question to answer. So if you could reframe it a little bit differently, it would help. It mainly sounds, and I don't know as well if you're training, it says you train late at night and you're having trouble warming up. So I don't know if you're going home first, if you're training, then going to work. So there's a lot of variables. To help, if I knew more information on that one, I'd be able to help you out. The first thing, the most important thing is 5 hours normal for you. The next one is, you see John Meadows and I do a hybrid movement. It's a row, stiff leg deadlift. It looks like it's almost an explosive movement. It's just a movement you program or something you do by feel. Everything that I do with John and pretty much everything that John does is bodybuilding oriented, and it's all done by feel. So there's very little explosive work that we're doing together from that standpoint. There's very little explosive work that I think John is currently doing in his own programming or has been for a while. He does put it in for a lot of his clients. The older you get, the more risk can come with explosive type of training. So if it looks explosive, then either we're cheating or we're fucking up, or it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be all based upon feel. Weight shouldn't be a factor. How do you feel about minimum effective dose versus maximal recoverable volume? Should you push that line? This is another one of those questions where there's not enough information to really know what and how to even answer this. So if you could reframe that next time, it would help tremendously. Why is Ben and Jerry's pistachio taste so good when I hate pistachios? Dude, I don't know. It's ice cream, man. I'm lactose intolerant. I don't eat ice cream, so I don't really know. But who the fuck cares? If it tastes good, eat it. Make things too complicated.
You want me to throw any out, or are you just going to keep going on your own?
I'm just going to keep going through here, then when I get to the good ones. Out of the top athletes and coaches that you've worked with, are there any commonalities that prevents them from progressing? Yes. They stop learning. I see that being a very common thing with not all, but a lot of coaches that I've worked with, not coaches in particular that I've worked with that have helped me with my own training, but coaches that I've worked with and helping them to develop and expand their own training philosophy and methodology. They get to a certain point where they think they know it all. You never know it all. You can always learn more.
You're on the first set of questions.
I'm still ripping through the ones here that...
From yesterday. And we'll cut this part out, obviously. But.
Yeah, well, you can keep this in here. It makes it more what it is. Is there any difference in doing 3 sets of 10 or 10 sets of 3? Yes, there's a huge difference from that. You know the answer to that, dude. Just think about it from a volume standpoint and intensity standpoint. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of attention on that one. because there's a huge difference. It should kind of be common sense, and if it's not common sense and I'm ripping on you, then take it for what it is. I'm ripping on you. You should know the answer to that one, so just think it through a little bit. And if you really don't, go ahead and ask again, and I'll get into more detail about it. But yeah, there's a big difference. Intensity being the factor, or how much weight that you're going to use. Have you ever tried arm wrestling? No. What are your tips for someone going in their first powerlifting meet? I am going to circle back and answer that one independently.
Haven't you already done that one before?
Yeah, but I'm going to change it a little bit. What is the best way for intermediate lifters to periodize their training for themselves? I will come back and answer that one as well. I don't understand what would be the advice for a kid that loves to powerlift and would like to follow that path, but everyone is telling him that he should go to, I assume, university to become something he doesn't want to become. I understand that one. I'll answer that. Dude, don't put your life completely on hold to be able to be a powerlifter. I've done it. I know many other people that have done it. You can do both. For you to not continue your education is just fucking stupid to do so for any sport. And if you think that is what's necessary for you to become a great powerlifter, then you're fucking stupid. Because if that was the case, then anybody who's played college baseball, football, or any other sport and then moves on to the professional level would have done better to just not go to college, and we all know that's false. So use your head, man. How do I deal with patella tendonitis? I really can't get into depth on that one because that's an issue that I never had a problem with the whole time I was competing. The only time I did have any kind of potential problem with that was just a few years ago, and I took the easy way out and got a cortisone shot, which I don't suggest for anybody that's competing, but I don't compete anymore. So I can't answer that one. That's not an injury that I've really had and have had to deal with, and I don't like to give any type of rehab advice on anything that I can't say, this is what I did for myself. The reason for that is I'm not a physical therapist and I'm not a doctor, and the only advice I can give is the advice that I've personally done for myself. And in that case, I would not recommend the advice that I did for myself. In the past, how have you kept training up at a good frequency and intensity when working around an acute lower back injury? If you hadn't had a lower back injury, then hip and quad. I saw another question that Malik asked about this, so I will circle back and answer that question later in the series independently. Where do you see powerlifting going in the next few years? We live in a time people are so focused on looks, Powerlifting, and I've already answered this one in videos before. Please go back and look at some of the past table talks. Powerlifting is going to go wherever the powerlifters take it. I think they've already proven that. It's not up to the federations and the companies that support the sport. It's up to the lifters. The lifters just proved that by making the sport completely or 90% raw when for 40 years it was in gear. So don't ask me, ask yourself. What should your 3-board press speed hit 425 off your chest? This all depends upon what your own, I'll answer this more in detail in one of the other questions because you got a few questions here lumped in here that kind of all fall around the same thing. But it's based upon your strengths and weaknesses, and whatever your percentage is going to be based upon what those strengths and weaknesses are. So I'm going to skip through those really quick. How do you keep strength when you're trying to lose body fat? I mean, you gotta lose body fat slow. I have this conversation with people all the time. If somebody's 400 pounds or somebody's 300 pounds or somebody's 250 pounds, the slower that you lose the body fat, the more you're going to be able to maintain strength. There's going to be a certain point if you diet for a long enough period of time where that's going to be harder to do, and you will begin to lose a little bit of the strength. But if you're a powerlifter and you're dropping a weight class, your training should be periodized in such a way that you will be able to maintain or even gain strength as you go down. Now, if it's a radical drop of something from 320 down to 240, yeah, you're probably going to lose some strength on the short term, but you're going to be able to gain it back on the long term. But it's a slow process. You can't just try to rip off 5 or 6 pounds a week and tear that down for 6, 7, 8 weeks at a time. It's not going to work. You're going to get weak and you're going to lose muscle. Best way to overcome limitations of your central nervous system. Your central nervous system is very vast, so there's no best way to overcome limitations of your central nervous system, because your central nervous system is always being limited in one way or another. There are ways to recover better, which is a different question, which I'll address in one of the later questions more completely.
We have a whole documentary on how to access the void.
Yeah. When tying shoes bloated, did you ever did you ever black out? No, man. You got to learn how to, a couple things. You need to learn how to tie your shoes with, you need to learn how to tie your shoes either with a side knot, which, you know, that's the beginner of the bloat factor. And that's where you can tell the guy's shoes. You'll see the knot. It's on the side instead of in the middle. That's because they can't get over to the middle. So it starts with the side knot. After that, you get to the point where you just say, fuck it. And then you just tie a knot. In the end, you pull the strings through the shoes and you make the shoes as loose as you possibly can. I don't know how well this is seen, but see, you got it as loose as you possibly can. Then you tie a little knot there in the end of the string here. And then once that's done, you just open it all up as much as you possibly can, and then you never have to tie it. It just becomes a slip-on. You know, that's the best way to deal with the the bloat foot thing. Now, when it comes to training and you're going to need a shoe and it has to lace up, then I suggest you have somebody else tie it for you, or you just take a deep breath and you just dive in, man. It's like jumping into cold water. You just take the breath, go down, and you just work as fast as you can. You might be able to get half the tie done, come back up, dive back down again. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. You've heard Louis Simmons talk about exercise webs. Can you elaborate on this? Yes, I can elaborate on that. I will do that in a different question because that won't be a rapid fire answer. What's your opinion on training during sickness, rest, or better? Here's how I always thought about it. And I've gone, I mean, Louis, when we were there, he wanted us in the gym no matter what, even if we were puking our guts out. But I've always gone on the assumption is you train no matter what, but if you have something that is a virus that can spread and infect other people, and you're in a small gym, and most of the gyms that I've been in, powerlifting gyms, are small, nasty ass gyms, probably full of staph and MRSA. I'm not gonna go in there and risk, and it's not because of me, it's the guys I'm training with. I'm not gonna go in there and risk getting them sick, because I may not be 2 weeks out from a meet, but they might be. So if have a 24-hour bug and I'm vomiting my brains out, I'm not gonna go into the gym. You know, it's just, there's a certain point to where if you're contagious, don't go. It's that easy. And that's not just you being hardcore, it's you being respectable or respective of the people that you're training with, especially if they're training for meets. Unless, of course, you hate the people you train with and go in there and make them all sick.